Hello Internet, I'm Zan, and this is the second tutorial video about my journey building a tire retaining wall. Our new build had very rough landscaping to begin with. In part 1, we covered how to build and fill our tires to make the retaining wall. After a lot of work and noise like this, my spouse was eager to have this covered up. In this video, I'm going to show you how I accomplished this in as few steps as possible while being as cheap as I could get away with. I start, like every good project, by seeing what I already have to use available in the yard. I want to create a seating area all along the top of the wall. I milled down pressure-treated dimensional lumber to 1.5 by 1.5 inch pieces for the frame. I cut and lay out the top and bottom plates together, marking for support pieces every 16 inches. This will be the longest frame and cover an 8-foot section. But before any yellow tools are used, put on some PPE, glasses and ear protection at the least. Consider sunscreen. Thank you. Here I am attaching the supports to the top plate, lining up my marks. I use 2.5 inch deck screws for this. I'd recommend pre-drilling anywhere you're placing a screw. This will help prevent the wood from splitting. Now I am attaching the flat top to my frame with the help of a spacer block. I use 6-inch pressure-treated fence boards for the seating. They are typically thinner and cheaper than deck boards. I used a spacer of 1 inch and made sure to have the boards overhanging the frame by 1 inch as well on all sides. Our wall curves to follow a footpath and has slightly different heights depending on the tire brands. Here I want to point out how the different sections can lap each other, creating a continuous look. My 30-foot tire wall turned out to be 5 separate sections. In my first video, I covered how I installed some tires with wooden backing inside them, creating a solid base for screws. I'm using several pieces for the rails and blocking them out where needed to be levelish. I already had some recycled pieces of lattice that would cover the sides. I then purchased pre-ripped sections to cover the rest. Lattice can be difficult to cut and keep together, so I splurged on factory pieces. Another tip is to leave space between wooden pieces and the ground. This will keep everything drier and will last a little bit longer. By this point, it's early spring and the retaining wall seems complete, so I started to shift my focus to other projects, like planting our food garden. But then, out of nowhere, our dear neighbors started showing up, and suddenly the whole project just didn't seem fancy enough. So, to make everyone happy, I bought some lettuce, but quickly pivoted to lattice instead. Cutting it into some 3-inch strips. This product will bend very easily, take the abuse from boots and wheelbarrows, as well as help hold all the wooden lattice together. The plastic will move around quite a bit from changes in temperature, so to avoid it getting all wavy in the sun, I provided some expansion space around the fasteners and covered them with large washers. Where 2 sections of lattice butt together, I'm going to cover up the seam with some small vertical pieces. Well, I must say, with all the plastic trim installed, it's really looking proper. If you're on the highway driving by, you'd be hard to guess this was a tire retaining wall at all. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge this technique was, in part, lifted from the practices I learned building earthships. They are probably the most sustainable dwellings possible, and I highly recommend looking into their theories. It's coming to the end of spring and the end of this project. As I sit quietly and rest, I am content no one in the video comments could possibly find anything else this project needs to be considered finished. So on that note, I hope this gives you some ideas and some confidence. We have many more sustainable living projects to show you, so please stick around for the next video. All right, HOA. Maybe there is one more thing I could do. Now it's painted. See, that wasn't so hard. It only took one transition to do. Now go forth with this happy stock music in your heart. But first, make sure to check out the other Hopey Changey videos, like how we were able to grow large amounts of food in our permaculture garden, or how my spouse naturally dealt with the many yard pests and predators around our little acre. Alright, this is the end. See ya.